revealed a public report to be studied by police departments and school officials around the country.
ABC's Jim Ryan in Dallas. The House did pass a gun reform bill last night with the support of 5 Republicans. It's not expected to pass the Senate. Citing inflation, Europe's central bank announcing it'll carry out its first interest rate increase in 11 years next month. This is ABC News.
Are you more than $10,000 in debt? Feel like you're on a never-ending treadmill, staying in one place and never getting ahead with those minimum payments? You feel like there's no way out? Don't let the credit card companies bully you anymore. There are programs in place to help you get free of your debt, and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. The program at Total Financial Freedom can help you get debt-free in months instead of decades. Get off the debt treadmill and stop the harassment. Get free of credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and medical bills. Call now at 800-533-6605 for free information. For about 10 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands. They're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, too. Get off the endless cycle without having to declare bankruptcy. You'll have the right to settle your debt for a mere fraction of what you owe. Call Total Financial now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605.
The European Central Bank now says it will raise interest rates for the first time in more than a decade next month. As we mentioned, Russian forces today pounding an eastern Ukrainian city that could be key to the fate of the entire Donbas region. Meantime, the devastated city of Mariupol, officials are now saying the risk of a cholera epidemic there is rising fast after the destruction of sanitation systems and water supplies. Also at risk, the hungry around the world who depend on food from Ukraine. In Italy, there are new calls for Russia to lift a blockade on food exports. ABC's Megan Williams has that part of the story.
Leaders of the Mediterranean region and the United Nations called on Russia to end its blockade of Ukrainian ports to free up grain exports and avoid a looming global food crisis.
If the current situation continues, importing countries will have to restore to alternative supplies. They will also have to pay high transportation costs.
Director General of the Food and Agricultural Organization, Ku Dongju, told the participants at the event. The Mediterranean Sea region includes 22 countries. Many rely on cereal imports from Ukraine and Russia to feed their population. Megan Williams, ABC News, Rome.
The White House now says it's putting plans in place to send COVID vaccines for kids under age 5 far and wide as soon as they are approved. Vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna could be available for young kids as early as the week of June 21st. This is ABC News.
Parents, it's time to cross off life insurance from your to-do list. With Fabric, protecting your family with great term life insurance is easy, fast, all online, and affordable. Fabric's policies start at less than $1 a day. You could be approved on the spot with no health exam and no risk. Cancel anytime. Stop putting it off. Apply today at meetfabric.com/future. That's MEET fabric.com/future. Fabric Insurance Agency policies issued by Vantis Life. Not available in New York and Montana. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions.
I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
With the passage of a cold front this morning, we expect dry weather today and a drop in humidity later on tonight and for the day on Friday. Today is partly to mostly sunny, a tad less humid, but I think a greater drop in humidity will be in store for us tomorrow. Today's highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. With that drier air in place tonight, a little cooler with lows in the low 60s. Tomorrow is partly to mostly sunny, less humid, not as hot, mid to upper 80s the highs. I'm Mike Mays in the North Carolina News Network Weather Center.
Looking outside, it's sunny, and according to Peter the meter reader, it's 73 degrees here at WCAB. Going to be a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We hope you can rise and shine and enjoy activities outside. Stay hydrated and stay close to a shade tree. It's 9:05.
It's time now for My Great America with Jim and Butch, a conversation about positive things about this great country. And now here are Jim and Butch.
Well, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'm glad to be with you again live in the Blue Room.
I am grateful to be here with you, Jim. You know, we don't take a moment for granted, do we?
We sure don't.
We don't know what a day will bring, and certainly coming through these last couple of years with COVID and, you know, just folks that unexpectedly die. You know, I more and more, Jim, I've purposed in my heart to try to be an encouragement to people, to try to bring truth to people, to try not to get bogged down on all the things that so easily entangle us. You know, it says in Scripture, it talks about the things that easily entangle. And one of the things that can entangle people every single day is getting up on the wrong side of the bed with a bad attitude.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? I was thinking to myself, you don't really have the opportunity to do that because people expect you to turn on the light and give some encouragement in the midst of these days that we live in. And you know what? I have a very special I've got a number of people that are special blessings in my life. There's one in particular I want to mention this morning, and her name is Sandra Norris.
Oh, I know Sandra.
And you know what? It's the rare, I don't want to exaggerate because my grandfather used to say exaggerating is sin. It's lying. It's just extending beyond the truth what something is. But I want to say this. It's rare that somebody I meet in the county that's been around a while doesn't know Sandra.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, she had all those years as a school teacher, and she had a brother named Butch, and her brother died, and God put it in my heart to tell her, I'll be a brother to you. I'm Butch. I'll be a brother to you. And do you know what? She is a regular encourager of my life in ways that I can't really describe adequately. And I'm going to give you an example. So often what will happen is I usually get up early, about 5:30, 5:45, and you do too. Yeah, earlier.
Yes.
Earlier. And it's often the case that when I go to get my phone and turn the notifications back on, there will be a text from Sandra Norris there. And this was the text this morning. Can you imagine what this does to infuse light and life and encouragement for somebody that's going out there into the battle each and every day? This is what she said. Good morning, and she doesn't know I'm doing this, and I didn't ask her for permission. So, good morning, my precious gift from God. Just like Joshua, every day we are going a way that we've not been before. And just like God commanded Joshua, we are to be strong and be very courageous, and our life should cause others to enter into the promised land. God is so good to us, so faithful. I know that in the presence of the Lord there is fullness of joy, and if I'm not full of joy, I'm not in God's presence. I have the best life. God is so good to me. He surrounds us with songs and shouts of deliverance. He has made a way for us in every circumstance, and I am so grateful. His mercies are new every morning. I am just preaching to myself today. I want to stand before God with clean hands and a pure heart, and I know that is a choice. We choose to have a great day. Just like we sang last night in church, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I'm so grateful for you. You make a big difference. We will always be here for each other and fight for the will of God. Love you with all my heart. It is well. Sandra Norris.
That is so good.
Do you know what? I'm going to tell you something. On some mornings where I'm tempted to say, oh, that head cold has come back, and I'm feeling now in my 7th decade of life, and you know, you just want to jump into the quagmire of self-focus and not feeling so great. I get something like that from my big sister, which is what I call her.
Yes.
My big sister, my older sister. And it's just like turning up the electricity.
Yes.
You know, I sit straight up and say, I'm going to purpose in my heart to be an encouragement to people today wherever I go, and not just some self-help, hey, be hell, fellow, well met, but give them the light and life of Jesus. That's what we're called to do, Jim.
It means so much to people when you do that. I certainly appreciate Sandra so very much, Seb. It's easy to fall and get in the pity party, have a pity party every day, but we have that kind of encouragement. Well, that'll pull right out of that pity party in a hurry.
Right. And we talk a lot about that. There are many things I love about my church, and I have people that say, Butch, you talk about your church a lot. It's an important fellowship of people for me. We don't just go to church. We're walking through life together as an extended family of people, wanting to make a difference, knowing that we were born, we live, and we die, and we'll have to give an account for our life. So I talk about my church because it's not the church, it's the body of Christ expressed in a particular group of people that choose to live life together. And you know, we walk through hard things together. It says in Scripture, rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. And so, for example, tonight the visitation, the receiving of friends for Roger Short's wife, Rebecca, who, was taken from this earth, is an example of us trying to bring light and life and encouragement and love and support to people that are walking through difficult days, Jim. And I remember that from just watching the receiving of friends with your brother, and watching people in their unique ways love you and love Faye and just reflect to his wife. He made a difference in mine. That's what we're called to do. We can't be indifferent. We can't be isolated. We can't be neutral. God's called us to be active agents of his love and his goodness and his grace in a world that's filled with so much sickness.
And I'm thankful that there are people like you and others that believe that and live that every day. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And through that encouragement, you encourage me and others that you meet, and I think that's great.
Well, and what happens too is that when we choose to take on we sing a song, take on the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. When we encourage other people, in God's kingdom, there's this mysterious transaction that takes place. Our getting outside of our own woes and encouraging somebody else, it actually scrapes away the scales of all that depression and woefulness that wants to come upon us. So let's commit with each other that we're going to keep doing that. And if you ever see me in a dark place, hit me, push me. Tell me, Butch, that's not where we go. That's not what we do.
Faith sends an encouraging word every morning to our grandkids.
Yeah.
Every morning she'll text them something to them and say a little encouraging word. And they look forward to that every morning. I don't think she's missed a morning since they've been out on their own.
You had no idea, but that is an excellent conversational bridge to what we're going to talk about next.
Good.
Because, I was thinking this morning, I was missing in a good way, not a soulish way, but I was missing my maternal grandmother. We called her Moo Moo. She had 11 children. She used to make her own soap. She made her own bread, and it had a tinge of molasses in it. It also had, she would take potato water from cooking her potatoes, and somehow that would end up in the bread mix as well. And the bread tasted really, really good. But you know what? She had 11 children. She was married, I think, when she was 17 years old. She had a congenital problem with hearing. I've told the story because it's so powerful in my life. They used to have dial-a-prayer in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and the number for dial-a-prayer was only one digit off from the home phone number for my grandparents. And my grandmother could not stand for people to need prayer, so when they would call with her hearing problems and everything, she would pray with them on the phone. She had one of those hearing devices that hung around your neck with a big old cord that would go in there. It's not like the ones today. And she would hang it, I still remember it, she'd hang it around her neck, she'd pull it up, and when they would call and get the wrong number, my grandmother would be there just hitting those devils and praying for them. But she used to do something, I couldn't figure out why she would do this, but whenever we'd be there, we would go up many summers and spend a couple of months during the summer between school seasons. And she would make me every day take a tablespoonful of blackstrap molasses. Oh. And I remember at the time, why are you doing this? But I was respectful enough and under authority enough to know she's your grandmother. She tells you to do it. You're going to do it. And so for some reason last night I said, I wonder why she was doing that. Because what we're learning more and more, Jim, and it's part of what makes America so great, is a lot of these home remedies and a lot of these things that were seen as folklore, actually more and more science is proving they were onto something.
Yes, indeed.
And so I did a little bit of research on blackstrap molasses. Now, before I do that, tell me what happened with Ella.
I wish I had known you were going to talk about this today. Ella brought me a jar of blackstrap molasses Monday when she came to clean the building. She said, I heard you say something sometime back about blackstrap molasses, so I brought you one. And I have not opened it yet.
That was this week?
Yeah, this past Monday. I'm waiting until maybe the weekend I can get some hot biscuits and open that jar of blackstrap molasses.
You know what, Chip? This is we didn't talk about this,
no,
did we?
we didn't.
It's so interesting to me that she did that. And, of course, anything that Ella tells you to do.
Ella's a sweet woman.
She's a sweet woman, and when she tells us to do things, we do it, don't we?
Better do it, that's right.
Yeah, that's a different story and not for today's program. But this is so interesting. So I was doing a little bit of research, and And what I found, Jim, is that blackstrap molasses is actually known, the way that they distill the sugar, it's actually known for having a number of medicinal qualities. It's got a lot of calcium. It's really good for bone health. It's got a lot of antioxidants. It's excellent for creating an environment that resists cancer and other diseases. It's apparently, supposedly really good for constipation and bowel issues in children in particular. It's high in potassium, which is one of the things the body needs for regulating the heart. And so all of these things I didn't know at the time. I just knew a grandmother, Moo we called her, said, I want you to have this, and I would have it every single day. And you know, the other thing is I was anemic. I was kind of sickly when I was young. I had a pneumonia a lot. And one of the things that my family did is we had liver every week. We had liver every week. And I've learned that the reason for that is that, you know, they wanted to deal with the potential anemia, and it was high in iron. So a lot of these, were there any things that you had growing up that you can remember that you ever did like this? Or?
I remember eating a lot of liver when I was growing up. That was
Is that an acquired taste?
Oh, maybe for some.
I love liver
I
and
do
onions.
too. Beef liver and also chicken livers. We ate that a lot at my home.
You did?
Yeah, sure did. Mother loved to cook.
Yeah.
She
Now the
loved it.
thing about chicken liver. Soon after I moved here, I was going with Sam Whaley and a couple of other folks down to South Carolina. It wasn't really an initiation. It was just a trip they were taking. But they stopped at I don't think it was a Love's, but it was some kind of a truck stop that was known for its chicken livers. And I was just following along with what they did. And so I ended up getting a box of chicken livers, and I turned it over in the car that we were in, and there was all kinds of oil soaking through the bottom of the box. And, you know, this was not for the right motivation, so forgive me, Jesus, but I wanted to be part of the group, so I ate all of them. It was a whole big box, and I remember about 3 o'clock in the afternoon thinking, I've got like concrete in my stomach here. I'm feeling pretty low to the ground. My center of gravity has been altered, but yeah, they're good, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And liver mush is a very popular item around here too.
You know what? You don't know this, but you're creating the correlative conjunctions and the conversational bridges to different things we're going to talk about.
Oh, really?
You just mentioned liver mush, and here's my friend this morning in the Daily Courier, Pat Jobe, with his column, History of Liver Mush Runs Through Mooningham. Now, Mooningham. I need to make sure. I got corrected, by the way, which is great because whom the Lord loves, he corrects. I mispronounced a church's name here recently, so if you ever hear me mispronouncing anything, please, even publicly, correct me. But here's my friend Pat Jobe, and you know what? The Daily Courier is more than a fish wrapper. I'm going to encourage Richie Starnes today. Go subscribe to the Daily Courier. Jim's not nodding his head, but I'm encouraging you to do that. Listen to this. This is great writing. Most of you who regularly indulge in, I'm not going to read the whole column, just a couple of parts. Most of you who regularly indulge in reading this column know I am about half crazy, as we like to say here in the sacred Southland. My granddaddy, Bob Jobe, was my inspiration for thinking that sanity is highly overrated. But I'm about to shock the fire out of some of you. I don't eat meat, a little fish, every now and then, but most of my protein comes from beans and peanut butter. He is a Democrat.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to open that door, Jim, because you'll run through it. A little fish every now and then, but most of my protein comes from beans and peanut butter. Now, don't get too excited. Those of us who don't eat meat aren't going to put any of you cattle farmers or chicken farmers out of business anytime soon. The job security of butchers around here is pretty solid. But I mentioned my lack of meat consumption to note the irony of writing about liver mush. After not having any for 22 years, I can still remember how good it is. Mama wanted us to eat liver when we were kids, and I would have rather taken a beating with a stick. But add about half cornmeal fried up, and I was most happy with the liver mush. Cornmeal may be the most underrated element in any good victuals. Why bring up liver mush? Patrons of the Mooningham, Library probably don't know that the head knocker librarian, Denise Strickland, is liver mush royalty. Isn't this interesting? Besides loving chocolate and running for exercise, her grandparents, Bert and Carrie Mae Knipe, are likely the first in these parts to go into the liver mush business. They started in 1926, and when Ray McKee started Max Liver Mush in 1933, he used a recipe he got from the Knipes called Ellenboro Home. Isn't that interesting? You know what, Pat Jobe, good job on the history in the article there. He and Larry McDermott are both very good writers and touch on important things kind of in the warp and whoop and the fabric of Rutherford County.
Yeah, well written. I don't know if we could talk Pat into having a liver mush breakfast with us or not. I think we could.
Are you open to that?
Yes.
Okay, you know what, folks? You've heard it right here.
If he'll eat liver mush with us, I'll go.
Jim Bishop, a Republican, Pat Jobe, a Democrat, Butch Maltby, a follower of Jesus, and we're gonna go have liver mush together. We'll go to the Carolina Cafe.
That'd be good.
I think I've been told it's good. Now I will confess this: I did get a small block of liver mush. I'm not skilled in these things, so I cut some slices, Jim, and I put it on a plate, and I put it in the microwave. And when it came out, I thought to myself, I suppose people eat it the way I'm about to eat it right now. It was like a pudding consistency. So I thought the only thing I can do here to make this more palatable is to get some pepper jack cheese. So I sliced some pepper jack cheese, put it on top of these little gobbles, little hunks of sort of mushy liver mush, and I ate it. But you know what? I'm confessing that because I'm sure there are going to be people now, if they see me in the county, they'll say, you got to make it so it's crunchy. You know, when Ted Alexander, State Senator Ted Alexander, and I meet at the Shelby Cafe, which, by the way, is celebrating their 100th anniversary this year.
Oh, wow.
And they're owners, actually, of the Carolina Farmhouse.
Farmhouse, sure.
Right. They're celebrating their 100th anniversary. But whenever we go there, he was the one that kept telling me, you got to get liver mush, because we were meeting weekly. And I got it, and it was crunchy. Mm-hmm. It was really good. It was crunchy, and it was in a block. Mm-hmm. Had a couple of scrambled eggs there. So
now there are those folks who eat liver mush without cooking it too. There are those on a saltine cracker. Cut it off in between two saltine crackers.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I like mine cooked. I want mine crunchy like you're talking about. But there are those folks who eat it raw.
Okay. And, you know, somewhere out there, somebody listening is feeling so encouraged by our conversation when I first looked at a block of liver mush, I was at Wells Jenkins.
Yes.
And they didn't know what to do with me. I hadn't been here very long. And so I was talking to one of the people behind the meat counter, and I said to him, can you tell me what your most popular sausage is? And this guy looked at me and gave me an answer. And I said, now, how much of that do you sell per month? And he started working on the numbers and told me. And I said, do you mind me asking, what would your cost be in each of the sausages so I can get a handle on what your margin is, what your profit is per sausage that's sold? And Jim, because I wanted to know, I thought, this place is really hopping. They must be doing pretty well. But he had this look in his face like, you must be from Raleigh and with the agriculture department doing some sort of an audit or something. So I've learned to talk less, ask questions, and listen more. But that's a real iconic place too, isn't it?
It really is, and has grown over the years. They used to be a processing house only, basically, with a little small meat market. They grew to where they are now, and boy, they have a really nice business.
Yeah, and you know, what I find is that the county businesses that are homegrown, and you talk about this often, let's support our local county businesses. And I know, by the way, I was just with Cindy Cobb again, the new head of the Chamber of Commerce here in Rutherford County. She was over at Freight Works. Wonderful. She was walking around those big trucks just like you did, and had just a wonderful visit. But, you know, there's a strong encouragement to shop locally, the whole farm-to-table movement, support our local farmers, support our local patrons and entrepreneurs and others. It's how we make our county better when we get behind these folks. And it's not to say that you don't have to occasionally go to a big box store and a national brand, but where possible, try to encourage the people that are local because it helps our county.
And Tony's Produce is one of those local places I love to support.
I absolutely love Tony's. I go there. I love the little baked items, although I've been committed and disciplined to give items away, not consume them. But he's got that relationship with that Mennonite baker there in Green Hill. They've always got great produce that's there, and I love hearing him talk about the different seasons for the fruits and vegetables. I go by there 1 or 2 times a week. And of course, he's an advertiser here on WCAB. Now, Jim, I don't know if he said this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Today, by the way, has been what we call a potpourri.
Yeah, I like
kind of touching on different things. WCAB's about to come out with its annual newspaper, right?
It is, absolutely. Foothills Journal.
Foothills Journal. And you know what? That goes to thousands.
20,000 homes.
20,000 homes. And I'm just going to say this, and I don't know if Jim has, but I'm just going to say this real quickly. If you're a business or you're somebody in the community that wants to be included in a celebration of what this county is all about, the greatness and the goodness that God has bestowed upon us, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to call the station, ask for Tracy, ask for Jim, and you can get an ad in that. It's going to go to homes all over the county, and what it does is it allows you to snapshot a little piece of your history, a little piece of your story, and you've been doing, WCAB's been doing this for years, haven't they?
We have been doing it for a number of years. We were trying to figure out how many years it's been. It's been a lot of years. But not only do we reflect nostalgically to some of the history of the county, but we also bring it to current with the events of the school calendars, of the schedule of the high school football games, and some things happen. And the superintendent writes a little letter to the paper. So it's really
really wonderful. Now those horses are going to start galloping fast. So if you want to be a part of it, you need to call the station, call quick, become a part of that. It's your way of saying, yes, I'm part of the county and I want to celebrate things. Now, I don't want to end on a somber note, but this is somber and our time is almost out, Jim. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they said to me, why do you make abortion such a big deal, Butch? You make it like it's the only issue that's out there. And I said, well, it's not the only issue that's out there. We need to be pro-life wherever it might be. That's elder care, that's thoughtful gun control, it's all of those things. But it's a non-starter for me, for any candidate, whatever their party affiliation, if they're pro-choice. Right. It just is. Right. And they asked me why, and I said I'm going to relate a story from history, and we'll end with this today. In 310, the tyrant in Greece, Agathocles, invaded Africa, fearful that the god Cronus had turned against the Greeks, and in their zeal to make amends for their omission, they selected 200 of the noblest children and sacrificed them publicly, according to Greek historian Diodorus Siculus. During the sacrifice, the people raised their voices and pounded on their drums to drown out the screaming of the children as they were consumed in the fires. Well, we are doing no less. The screams and the cries of 62 million plus babies, children, are the things that cement curses on this nation. So the reason I'm a Republican, in large measure, is because I will not ever vote for a candidate who's pro-choice. I just will not do it. Why? Because God said so. That's and right. If we want to be a great country again, we need to get on board, little children.
You're absolutely right. Thank you for saying that.
God bless America.
God bless America.
Thank you for joining us for My Great America with Jim and Butch. Join us each Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9:05 for this enlightening program on 100.9 FM and 590 AM. It's My Great America with Jim and Butch.